doing the What of Asia world instead of Europe. And yeah, I'm actually recording this much earlier. So yeah, basically the Cold War's tensions are near the top. We're basically starting to begin to the end of the Cold War, which the Cold War ended in the 90s. But of course, this Cold War is going to last way longer than the 90s, as there is no real superpowers. There's the Xenia Union, which is probably the strongest country in the whole entire world, with with the second most with no real countries to really oppose the Xenia Union. But again, the strongest countries in the world are nuclear powers now. Non-nuclear powers like OSI, which used to be some of the strongest countries in the world, basically it's a Cold War between the Continental Union and the Xenia Union, India versus China, as well. Here, in last episode, India expanded their alliance to include Ray, to include Viate, as well, to include Ryufu, so Xenia Union does not invade them, as well. But there is one more country that has not really been involved, and that's the Taoist Union. This is a union. This was a union of nomads. It's kind of like the Switzerland of Europe. They don't do anything, and they're gonna stay that way because they're basically Switzerland. No one wants to invade them. They're basically like no one lives here. It's basically the Tibetan Plateau, the Gobi Desert, basically an uninhabitable area, and the capital is right near where India is. So they're not gonna do anything. They basically sent to both that they desire to stay neutral, and the Xenia Union and Continental Union both actually respect this choice, as this is basically the country's historical stance on almost all conflicts. So yeah, Taoist is basically like the Switzerland. The Switzerland of our time of Europe is a part of the W Alliance, which the W Alliance is pretty concerned because they are out to fight, deal with a alliance with countries that they lost actually to these free random countries, and the W Alliance isn't like that. Okay, they don't have any nuclear powers on their side as well here, and that is pretty bad for them because there's no nuclear powers on their side. They don't get no nuclear powers on the side just yet, but the W Alliance will expand. The little alliance. Also, I keep forgetting that Vinay is a part of the W Alliance, but they are. Yes, they are. Yeah. SR Moravia, however, joins the. Okay. Joins this little Star team, which is the communist team as well. Because they're a communist state, so they join as well. Moravia, however, wants to create their own alliance because they do not really like this one. So the new triangle team is formed. Okay, we use a different color. Here. They create their own little alliance here. And Katana and Feta are the only countries to really join. And Europe is now trapped between three alliances. The Triangle Alliance, which is these three countries right here. The W Alliance, which is most of Europe. And there's, of course, Soviet equal and SR Moravia. However, Soviet equals a nuclear power with at least 70 to 80 nukes, which could probably wipe out every single country of the W Alliance as well. The problem is the W Alliance realizes that they don't have any nuclear powers on their side. Okay? They don't have any nuclear powers on their side, and OSI side, along with all of the W Alliance, basically says we need to basically start researching nuclear weapons. Because basically, we are supposed to be opposing, because like if the Circle Alliance was supposed to be opposing the communists. However, we don't have any nuclear powers. It means if Soviet equal or SR Moravia wants to invade us, they can just basically nuke us to oblivion. We need to find a way to create nuclear weapons, basically, as well. And they start doing that. However, another war is happening in Africa as well. This is the war of Yavi and Azesia. Azesia wants to reclaim its territory from the Yavi people, as well. So they start to invade Yavi as well and taking the capital. This country isn't very populated, so they are defeated relatively quickly. Gavia is concerned about Easia's new accents here on the world stage. And yeah, they were pretty concerned about the accents of this on the world stage. And they just defeated one country here. There's no United Nations basically, so there's no world peacekeeping to really stop them. And basically during the Cold War, there has been a lot of wars and conflicts, which is actually the most conflict heavy because it is most about the countries as of now. Goblin, however, decides to create a new alliance, which is the Rhine Alliance. Yeah, we're really right out of alliance fixes. Yeah, they basically decided to create a alliance of Baihu, which is the most powerful country in Africa at this current moment. Actually, second behind Moldova because they're second and third behind Nilda and Moldova. Because Nilda does have territory in Africa as well, but they do create a defensive pact with Baihu, which is basically what they do, because they want to basically remain independent. Because Gavia, they fought blood, sweat, and tears for their independence as a separate entity. And Baihu is, kind of like, the United States of Africa. Okay, they're kind of like the USA of Africa. Yeah, meanwhile, America in this world is mostly split up here, into various countries. However, a new country is about to gain their independence, which is this large country up here. They have voted for their independence as well. However, the northern and southern sides want to be separate countries. Here. Here. So these two countries basically decide to be. Okay, I think it's not making the same color as. These two countries decide to be separate countries. Akeka is independent, and Fari is now an independent country. So these two countries are the two newest countries in the world, and they already do not like each other. So Ikaka and Fari do not like each other because, according to Ikaka, this entire area should be one country, no doubt. Okay, these guys are all chill with each other. That's why there hasn't really been many wars here, and also I don't really like having island wars that much. But however, despite for thousands of years, these countries have been chill. These three countries know they can't invade Zhao, so Vance and Zenit, and they can't really invade these islands here, as they don't want to gain independence because they want protection from Sunni as well. They want to stay protected by Sunni, which is a pretty smart idea. Also, they'll have Zhao to protect them as well. Phyllis is an independent state as well, but the Phyllis country acquired these islands from Viate. These islands really don't show much economic use to Viate, so they outsold for a small price of $2 million, and in Viate currency, and they were basically just sold to Phyllis very easily. And basically, these islands have no people. The other area that finally forward to gain independence is this little area here, which is this trade area that Nai controlled for thousands of years, but now they're an independent country. So Farah is now an independent state, and the capital will be right here. The capital isn't on the coast because they don't want, they're worried about global warming, which is a problem in this world too, because they don't want to say the capital to fall in the water. And so, however, Nova and Yami will still keep their hold in Africa as well. Here, and Yami even thinks of expanding further south into Africa. They could further expand to Cayenne, Rena, Easier, which is one of the oldest civilizations in the world, or try to take back Somalia, or try to take over Somalia. They're gonna take over the easiest option they have is Kion. Kion is being invaded relatively quickly. However, Monama doesn't like this and starts sending troops to because they don't like the fact that Yami is basically trying to take over East Africa, okay, and the Horn of Africa. So Monama starts sending troops, and they even threaten Yami with nuclear weapons, which is something that Yami doesn't like. So they end the war relatively quickly, as well. Kion will get some outskirts districts as well as kind of a punishment, expanding this country's land. So this country is one of the weakest countries in the world. However, they do have these countries. This country does have they get protection from one of the most powerful countries in the world, which they're happy about that. And they even think of expanding this alliance to basically to include Kion and Monama. So basically, Yami doesn't like this because they don't want to invade Rita because they think might happen. Easier seems to be the only other option because Easier is not a country that people really like. The leader is very disliked. They didn't like the fact that people don't like the fact that they invaded another country. So Yami starts to propel its troops to invade Easier, one of the oldest countries in the world. They start to invade Easier, and Easier is not a very strong country. Were able to defeat the rebel area, but outside of that, they are able to invade Easier with quite an ease. And this area is basically conquered within days. And Easier surrenders. They are defeated. They lost. And Easier is now conquered. However, Yami is satisfied with the amount of land they got, despite them losing a really small amount of the Sahara Desert, which isn't really a big loss. They did gain a lot of the Ethiopian lands, which to them is an absolute victory in their books. Yami is now looked at the same way that Easier is looked at, as just another imperialist power, well, that wants to take over other countries. However, they say that they are not that bad and they want to basically stabilize the Horn of Africa. Okay, that's the whole excuse to the international community because there was an international community. However, they're not as strong as like the UN, or the UN's whole purpose is to stop wars from happening. However, there's not going to be more wars in Central Asia, of course, and that is Pentanovan versus Sigrid. So there is a border dispute versus Pentanovan and Sigrid. This country has been through thick and thin, one of the oldest countries in the world as well here. And they started around here, and they have blobbed out many times throughout history as a huge empire here. The only country they ever really respected was Gantana. However, Sigrid is a country they really do not like. And that's because the Sigrid's government is not very friendly. Sigrid has basically elected a military dictatorship to power, like North Korea, and basically Pentanova doesn't like the fact that they have to live on North Korea on the border. Bennu does too, so both countries basically come into agreement to invade Bennu and Pentanova before they build nukes, because Sigrid wants to build nuclear weapons so no one can topple the dictatorship. So basically, Pentanovan wants to, because Sigrid claims that the Sigrid dictatorship claims that all of this land belongs to the dictator. That this is the land that is the desired homeland for the Sigris people. And this is something that is very problematic for them because now they want to basically conquer all of this land here. So they want to put an end to the dictatorship right away. And Pentanovan starts putting troops on the border alongside Bennu, and they start to invade Sigrid. So Sigrid is being invaded from the north. Sigrid militarizes even Sudrin to fight against them, which again, no country has done that in a long time since before World War One. And this makes Sigrid's government look very, very bad. Okay, the people also start to rise up against Sigrid's government, and they take the capital before anyone else. And basically, Sigrid's dictatorship is murdered by the people, and the operation is done. Sigrid just changes its government to a more, representative government, not a dictatorship that, is basically North Korea 2.0. And yeah. However, we're going to be seeing a splitting of a country. So this large country over here, Croatia, is one of the oldest colonies in North America. However, there is a part of Croatia that is very differently culturally, which is this area. This area is more European than Asian, where they split. And basically they voted 55% along racial and ethnic lines. The 55% more European population voted yes, and the Asian population, which is around 40% of the state's country's population, voted no. And there's also several African and mixed populations. So this election was pretty close as well here. So basically this was 51% yes independence and 47% no, and basically the rest is like invalid and blank. Okay, so this country is now officially an independent state. I'm going to use this color because I like this color. This bright yellow color here. And the capital will be right here. And this will be Dania. This country right here, which is now independent. Because most of the people who come from here, there have been tons of immigrants throughout this country's history that have came from Michigan and Fallon. Despite this being originally settled by Asians, most of the people here, it's kind of like a Texas situation, but they actually voted democratically to gain their independence. Also, it's very, very hard to get resources to this area as well. Here, this area was very economically important, because of oil. However, there was tons of oil up here too, and they don't want to risk a civil war, so they just gave the opportunity to vote. So, because North America is kind of like South America in this time, right? They want to be peaceful as well. They don't want many wars as well. However, the Guyana is going to declare war on this little country here, Missa, and this breaks the whole tradition of peace. Yeah, Missa is being utterly destroyed. Missa, I think, is a colony of like one of the African countries. I think Sahi's colony. And yeah, they're being destroyed 100% by this country here. And yeah, I just want to get rid of this little mess here. So to kind of make a more united area here. So Missa is defeated, and the whole entire country is annexed, basically. Here, and many of the people have fled to Scavia, which is mostly a Central Asian ethnic makeup, along with many Europeans as well. Again, in this world, there's a lot of, okay, basically, let's explain North America. So, most of here is Asian, okay? Most of this area here is Asian. All of this area is, including Michigan, and these areas right here, is European, okay? This area is Central Asian. Kura is, I think, Indian. This area is African, is North African, I think, and this area is like North African, I think. This whole entire area. So, no, I think Guyana is European. Okay, I think Guyana is European and Missa is North African. Yeah, but that's basically how it is. That's why Dania is an independent country, because this area is very linguistically, ethnically very different from the rest of Croatia. Kind of like Quebec as well. Same thing as Jan, which is basically like the more like desert of real life. And the next area here is to basically Oh yeah, the last event of this episode is Osai finally researches nuclear weapons. They've researched the first nuclear weapon that can make it bigger and becomes an official nuclear power. So that means we have no nukes in North and South America, not really any. We have several, two in Europe, one in Africa, one in Middle East, one in and two. No, we have three nuclear powers in Asia. Okay, and the country with the most nukes currently at this current moment is the Soviet Union with 700 to 800 nuclear weapons. Sunni with 200 with 60 nuclear weapons. Continental Union with a similar amount, 600 to 700 nuclear weapons. NOTA is 15 to 17. They haven't really developed many more. Onama is 70 to 80, as we said earlier. And Soviet equal is around 80 to 90 nuclear weapons. As well, those are all the nuclear powers in the world. Again, we're not going to make it all like 70,000 nuclear weapons. These are the ones that are actually in use, that actually are operational. They have created tons of nuclear weapons that are unoperational, that are unusable. And also, I had developed the first nuclear weapon. Okay? Which means the W Alliance is not an alliance to really mess with anymore. This causes Guantanamo and Feta to start creating their nuclear weapons as well. Or they decide to, because they can't really, NOTA is right here. So they want to expand the alliance to include several more countries as well. However, they have at least agreement of the defensive pact between this alliance and this alliance. Even though the Democrat countries were democratic, meaning no, I think these countries are like monarchies. Okay, Moravia, Feta, and Qatar. That's why they haven't really joined that's why they never joined the W alliance, because these countries are monarchies. Okay, and actually Moravia, because they got a. But yeah, Guantanamo and Federal Monarchies in Moravia is a democratic, no, as a dictatorship, basically. Guantanamo and Federal and Guantanamo are basically monarchies. Okay, they have been using the same government for thousands of years at this point, and same thing with tomorrow, they're a monarchy, and basically a lot of the government is democratic. There are still many monarchies left, like Warpe's Warpe's a democratic country. Norta's a monarchy. Sumera and Zaria are monarchies. Dante, Feta, and Guantanamo are monarchies. Pentanoven's a monarchy. They have been using the same monarchy for Talos is a monarchy. They have basically Nairo's a monarchy. Benu's a monarchy. I think Sarsi is a monarchy. They use a king. Kanto and Sunni are monarchies. They have been using that. They're very similar. They use emperors, kind of like Japan, but they're constitutional monarchies like Britain. So the emperors are kind of like ceremonial figures at this current moment. Phyllis is a monarchy, and none of these countries are all republics. Actually, Zhao is a constitutional monarchy, as they carry the traditional Chinese emperor traditions, but it's kind of like ancient China, but they do have a prime minister that holds all the diplomatic power. And of course, many countries in Africa are monarchies and dictatorships. But a lot of these countries, like Cayenne is a monarchy, Baihu is a republic, Sifa is a monarchy, which is a Japanese state, no, a Chinese state. Kauri and a lot of these South African states right here are monarchies as well. Same thing with these West African countries are monarchies, and a lot of South and North America are republics. There are a few monarchies in South and North America, like Ainu is one, and Zion is one, and Germania is a monarchy as well. Well, yeah, and also there's Caribbean countries, a monarchy with a prime minister. Same thing with Savannah, they're a monarchy as well, but they are mostly a constitutional monarchy. So there's still several monarchies left in the world, but most countries are either democratic or the dictatorships. Like Soviet Union's a Soviet-esque dictatorship as well. So also Soviet Union is mostly atheist now. Meanwhile, Tavi and Caesar and are the last, like, besides like the colonies, are the last remnants of the Chinese religion left in the world. As these countries still practice the old Chinese religion, while the Soviet Union is more about, science and stuff. But however, a new race is starting to begin, the space race. This is between the Soviet Union, OSI, and also Soviet equal to some extent. And Monama was still a part of the Old Alliance as well here. And of course, the Continental Union as well. And the first country to land on the moon is the Continental Union, which, despite being defeated in the space race by the Xenia Union the whole time, the Continental Union is the first country to make a man on the moon, which is a very, very, very impressive feat, all things considered. And that's about this video here. Goodbye.